Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome into another great day here on Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you on your Tuesday morning. Appreciate you spending part of your morning with us. A little bit of I don't know, it's not, I guess, given this time of year, maybe a little chilly in the morning because it's only like 70 degrees. And I'm sure it'll just randomly start pouring down rain like it did multiple times yesterday. So this is a really fun time for Alabama weather. If you are, by any chance, this is maybe your first summer living in Alabama and you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, what's going on here? Get used to it. This is just the way that it is. So it's a little different, but we roll with it, right, Damien?
Absolutely, and it comes in waves. It's kind of because I heard you popped in yesterday in the production room, and I was like, "Oh, it's raining." And it was like 12 o'clock, and I was like, "Well, it was been the sun has been beaming all day, all morning long," and it's like, "Oh, okay, well." Kind of sprinkle that in there, and like you said, it's just a day by day thing. You don't know whether to keep a jacket just on standby, but when it's hot, when it stops raining, you know definitely it's summertime around here.
Well, it was funny because yesterday morning, so I came in and Brian had a heater going at 10 in the morning. And I mean, by that point, I mean, it was like 80 something degrees outside and he had a heater in his office. And I was going, man, are you kidding me? And then, like you were saying, that when it started pouring down rain, I mean, I had left my windows down in my car because it was a
Right.
hot day outside. And so I had to run outside real quick and roll my windows up. And I came back in. I said, man, I'm freezing now. Now I want a heater like Brian had. And that's just the way that it goes. But we have a great day ahead of us. Well, I probably shouldn't have started it like that. We have to address some things. I know there's a little bit of I'm going to call it the panic on the plains. That's what we have going on right now. It seems like I know a number of Auburn fans out there are
Just throw the program
a
away.
little
Just
they're not doing well. They're not doing well today, Damien, and we're going to
oh my
dive
gosh.
into some of that and should you be concerned if you're an Auburn Tiger fan when it comes to recruiting mainly and what that outlook is right now, because you got some more bad news yesterday, and so we're going to cover all of that. But quickly, we will get you set up for what you may have missed last night, because you could have seen this one coming from a mile away if you have been following this team all throughout the season so far. And that, of course, would be your Atlanta Braves that took down the New York Mets 3-2 last night. So the Atlanta Braves, they may be 36 and 41 on the season, but you are undefeated against the New York Mets
Let's
this
go.
year. So if you have one thing to hang your hat on,
Let's go.
you are undefeated against the Mets. So you had Ronald Acuna, who hit a home run last night. He had a solo shot there in the third inning. Michael Harris hit a sac fly to get the scoring going for the Braves in the second, and then you had Sean Murphy, who added another sac fly to give Atlanta their 3 runs. Juan Soto would hit a 2-run bomb in the sixth inning to make it interesting and kind of tighten it up a little bit there. But the Braves bullpen comes in, does their thing. Schwelly was excellent yet again for Atlanta, so he gives you 7 strong innings. All he really gave up was that 2-run home run to Soto. So he had 4 strikeouts to go along with 1 walk, gave up 4 hits, and allowed 2 runs last night. But 7 innings on 89 pitches, you will certainly take that. And then, like I said, yeah, the bullpen coming in and doing their thing now. So if you want to look at it this way, Atlanta, you're 32 and 41 when you don't play the Mets this year, and you're 4-0 when you do play the Mets. So we'll see if they can take that to 5-0 because they do have a 4-game series against the Mets this time. So game 2 will be coming up tonight at 6:10 here on Jox. You can hear it right after Paul Feinbaum, as the Braves will try to get to 5-0 against the Mets on the season and continue to chip away a little bit there in the standings. The Phillies are in first place now, so it doesn't, uh, it doesn't help you maybe quite as much as it would have a week ago or so with these wins. But the good news is you do have Philadelphia coming up next. So if you can start stringing these things together, you could see where Atlanta could start to make up a little bit of ground. But you are currently 10.5 games back in the National League East as it stands right now, and you find yourself 6 games out of a wild card spot. So plenty of work left to do there. But that's what's going on with your Atlanta Braves. I do have to give a shout out to you, Damien, because our teams are currently facing off right now in a little interleague matchup as my New York Yankees were on the road in Cincinnati taking on the Reds. And y'all clobbered us
Yeah.
6-1. It was not pretty.
Great day for Ellie De La Cruz.
Yes, he
Yeah.
had a very big day.
Did indeed. But listen, it's a long season. We do handle. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and think that we're going to pull out the brooms or anything. But any win we can get at this point heading into the All-Star break, we'll take them. We'll take them.
Absolutely. Yankees 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position last night. That's not how you're going to ever win a game. So good for Cincinnati. They moved to 41-38 on the season. So y'all have a nice little season over there in Cincinnati. You're 2 games out of the final wild card spot, so that's not bad. You're right there battling with Pat Smith and his Cardinals, not only in the division but as well as the wild card. So, this is the best. I mean, this is the best season y'all have had in a while.
Oh, in a long time. Where we actually feel a little bit of confidence of like, okay, we can
something could happen, maybe.
Right. A lot of things have to go our way a little bit too, but especially with the divisional matchups that we have. But I'm somewhat optimistic. And with Ellie De La Cruz playing at a high level, I mean, he's the engine that is that has the Reds going. He makes the Reds exciting baseball. And also, I mean, you get a win over the New York Yankees. It kind of resonates throughout the ball club. It's like, hey, we got something here. And again, it's early.
So this is your World Series. Is that what you're saying?
It could be an early matchup of the World Series. We could be getting a preview, and we got Game 1. So hey, let's keep pushing.
You know what, Damian? I will also root for that to happen. I would absolutely love for that to happen. So hopefully you're onto something there. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going through the text line real quick. This is completely random from yesterday. Do you know what a Bruin is? Like the UCLA Bruins. You know what that is?
I mean, they have like a bear mascot, don't they? Is it a bear?
Okay. I didn't know that yesterday. I was just going through and clearing out some of the text, and I saw there were a lot of people making fun of me because I didn't know what that was, and I just remembered I didn't know a Bruin was a bear, and I didn't know if that was a common knowledge or not.
The only way I know it is because I know that their mascot is a bear, and I just assume I'm assuming that a Bruin is a bear. So yeah, absolutely, it's a bear, right? Lock in.
No, that's cool. I'm glad I was the only one that didn't get the memo on that. I was just shocked yesterday. Everyone looked at me like, you don't know. What'd you think it was? I don't know. Something to do with Boston history or like, I don't know, mining or something. I don't know. It just seems like one of those. It could really be a lot of things.
And I think Molly's high school were the Bruins.
Yeah, that's how we kind of got on that.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, it's a bear. So it's a bear. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I wouldn't say I was 100% confident in that answer, but yeah.
Yesterday, you could have told me a Bruin was anything, and I would have believed it. So I'm glad to know that it is actually a bear. They weren't just messing with
Thomas Castellanos got you that shook, brother? He was running the ACC last year, dog.
The last 2 years.
Yeah.
According to him, the last 2 years, yeah. We'll get into that. I did want to get your thoughts, your reaction on that here a little bit later on in the program. But something I hit on at the beginning, so we have to talk about it. It is what it is, but the Auburn recruiting momentum seems to have run out, at least for the time being. Is it time to panic if you're an Auburn Tigers fan? Is there optimism still on the horizon, potentially to salvage this year's recruiting class? We'll tell you the latest news for Auburn, as well as give you some of our thoughts on the direction that this thing is headed under Hugh Freeze. We also want to hear from you. 205-834-9450. Do you lump yourself in? If you're an Auburn fan, are you in that group that a lot of us were seeing last night, freaking out a little bit about what the future of this program might look like? Is the, I guess, goodwill or benefit of the doubt running out for Hugh Freeze after back-to-back disappointing seasons on the Plains? We'll get into all that next on Morning Jox. 6:14. Welcome back into Morning Jocks here on your Tuesday morning. Conrad and Damian here with you until the 7 o'clock hour when we hand you off to McElroy and Kubelik in the morning. They are followed by Three-Man Front. They'll be out at Social Taco in Homewood today, so stop by for lunch, say hello to the gang, and then, of course, the Paul Feinbaum Show from 2 to 6, followed by the Atlanta Braves. All right, it's time, Damian. We got to rip the Band-Aid off. I know this isn't probably going to be a fun conversation for a lot of people, but it's one that we need to have. And it is, if you haven't been paying attention, Auburn's gotten some bad recruiting news over the last few days. And it's, you're just kind of getting to the point where I will say this at the beginning too. We're also getting to a point where people are very antsy for the start of college football season, right? We feel it just as much as anyone else. It feels like it's right around the corner, but you also have, 2 months really until the games start going. 8 or 9 weeks left to go until the start of the season, really. So people start to get a little, it is what it is, right? You want to talk about football, you want to get locked in, and then when you start getting maybe a couple pieces of bad news, it's very easy to let your mind wander and kind of have that snowball effect of, oh, dear Lord, what are we dealing with here? And let's be honest, for an Auburn program that, for the couple of years leading into Hugh Freeze, recruiting was not great. So yesterday you had a lot of people that we heard from a number of Auburn fans that were starting to grow concerned. You saw your favorite Auburn sites, podcasts, things like that. I saw a few of them doing what appeared to be, emergency broadcast type things, or just having podcast conversations yesterday, trying to, calm everyone down essentially within the fan base. And so the reason that people are concerned, Damian, is in the last 48 hours or so, 48-ish hours, you've now had a pair of decommitments from your 2026 class. So you've lost Shadarius Tootle, who's a linebacker. He's flipped to Georgia. Yesterday, you lost Devin Carter, a wide receiver. He flipped to Florida State, where he's a legacy. So if you look right now, and I'm going to give you On3 and 247 sports rankings as it stands right now. So for the 2026 recruiting class, according to On3 Sports, Auburn has the 62nd best class in the country. And according to 247 Sports, they have the 73rd best class in the country. And if you go and look at On3's standings, they have Auburn. There's only one SEC school with a worse recruiting class in 2026 than the Auburn Tigers.
That would be the Vanderbilt Commodores.
You're a hater. It's Missouri.
Oh, my fault. Oh, no disrespect.
Hater.
No disrespect to Vandy. My apologies. My apologies.
I think we all would have guessed it was Vanderbilt, to be completely fair. But no, it's Missouri. So Auburn, so a couple Tigers down there. But Auburn, according to On3, has the second worst recruiting class in the SEC as it stands right now. And again, this does come with a caveat we tell you all the time. A lot of things can change between now and when these kids actually have to sign a piece of paper and fully commit to the university that they're going to. But it is also fair at this point in time to look at your class and go, wow, we have 5 kids. We have 5 kids. And one of them is a 4-star kid. He's hovering around a top 100 player nationally, Hezekiah Harris. He's here from Jemison. He's an edge rusher. That's it. Everyone else you have is a 3-star guy. So you have one blue chip prospect, and that's it. And I think it's fair to assume that Auburn will pick up. I mean, they're going to pick up some guys. Like there's no doubt about it, right? They're not going to finish with the 70 whatever, 60 something recruiting class. That's not going to happen. But it is a far cry from where you're used to being right now, Damian, because if you remember going back the last 2 years, according to 247, Auburn had the number 8 class last year, number 10 in 2024. On3 had them with the 8th best class both of the last 2 years. So you have gone from a top 10 where that's the expectation now, right? That's what the fan base is expecting. A top 10 recruiting class. And now I think the expectation, honestly, is, okay, we've been there in the back half of that. Now let's get up in the top 5. Let's get closer to 5, 6, something like that. Can we get into the top 3 maybe? And that's not happening. Barring some miracle from God, that's not happening. And I'm not saying that that's the end of the world necessarily, but you just kind of have to I think, reassess some of your expectations if you're an Auburn football fan right now where it comes to recruiting. And so I think, the fair question to ask is, have we just reached the point with Hugh Freeze where, the stuff that he was able to sell the last two recruiting classes maybe doesn't carry as much weight because you have put together back-to-back losing seasons? I'm sure there's some uncertainty of, hey, if I commit to Auburn and Hugh Freeze, is this guy going to be here next year? And I think that's something that other schools would certainly use to their advantage. And it all just comes back to, at the end of the day, what we've been talking about for so long now and how important this season is on the football field for Auburn. Because if you go out there and you start to prove what you've been preaching for the last few years, and you can go out there and win 9 games or so, be in the mix, be in the conversation for a playoff spot. I'm not saying you have to go to the playoff, but, be in the conversation at late October, early November. At least have people saying, well, if this happens, this happens, and this happens, hey, maybe Auburn finds a way in, right? That's what you're looking for. And I think that would carry over in recruiting, right? Kids want to see, oh, hey, I can go to this program and it looks cool. The culture seems cool. Y'all are gonna pay me fairly. All that stuff's great, but I want to play in bowl games. I want to compete in a college football playoff, and you haven't shown me that you can do that yet. So I just wonder, have we finally gotten to a point where this is all starting to catch up to Auburn a little bit in the sense of, you had great recruiting the last couple of years. Well, you've now spent all that money on these kids. So maybe you don't have quite as much money for this upcoming class because we know what you're spending on your roster that you have right now. You also don't have as much opportunity for immediate playing time because guess what? You promised that to the kids the last 2 years, and now you have to give it to them. And on top of that, you have, I think, a little bit of uncertainty with Hugh Freeze and what his future will be depending on how this season goes, Damian. So it's a very interesting time for Auburn, and I think it's maybe that reality is just setting in that this really is the make or break year for not only Hugh Freeze, but maybe the next couple of years of the Auburn program.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail right on the head because one, if you're an incoming freshman, you look at some of the youth, I say youth, but some of the younger guys that are already playing on the field now. And you look at the talents in which they are because, you, like you said, you look at where they finished recruiting the past couple seasons since Hugh Freeze has been there. But like we talked about, Friday of last week, it's the results on the field have to match up. So it's, okay, if I'm an incoming freshman and say I'm a wide receiver, I look at that wide receiver core and I say, oh, I'm not going to even sniff the field until I'm a junior.
Bingo.
Like, I'm not. And even at the defensive side, they had so many young guys play these past couple seasons. It's, man, I'm maybe a special teams guy. I may be, a spot here and there. But how do I truly make an impact? And a lot of these kids, I mean, no matter how you slice it up, you look at the way the recruiting is now, they want to play right now. Like, all of them feel like they can play right now. And being patient is not one of their virtues. And when you look at where they are in recruiting, it's hard to tell a 5-star, like, yeah, you're going to sit behind Perry Thompson and Cam Coleman for at least 2 years. But when you're ready, we're going to get you out there. And also, again, if they have the talents in Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane and those guys, and they're still going 6-7, 7-6, barely getting 8 wins. It's, well, what are we building towards?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I put myself in that situation where we're not even competing?
Well, and on top of that, too, to your point about, with the wide receivers specifically, you look and go, man, look at all these talented kids y'all recruited. Oh, and y'all are still going out in the portal and spending $1 million on a singleton, like, to bring more guys over.
And another thing too, and again, it's June, no need to burn the ships or anything, but I do think it is kind of a whoo, didn't think we would be down that low. I do think it raises some concern, and also wasn't it Big Cat weekend this weekend, or it's coming up or something. And again, if these recruits aren't having the time of their lives and they're kind of just reading the room, they're looking like, man. Okay, Jackson Arnold's going to be here for 2 to 3 more years. They already know Deuce Knight is going to be the next man up. If I'm a quarterback, it's okay. I guess I'll be in the room. Never know what could happen. But I think because of the fact that they have so many young guys that are already on the field, what do I look like as a freshman thinking, oh, I can wait this thing out? Now, I mean, the transfer portal is always active, so you may look at the roster completely different year to year. But it is kind of a concerning situation when you have guys that are, they've gone to visits and they're still like, nah, I think I'll take my talents elsewhere.
Well, and that's the frustrating thing, with some of these kids. Like I know with Tootle, for example, I mean, a few weeks ago he was at Georgia and he told them, "Hey, I'm coming to Georgia." Then the next weekend he was back at Auburn. He said, "Actually, no, I'm going to stay at Auburn." And then 2 days ago he says he's going to Georgia. Right? Like y- these kids can tell you exactly what that you want to hear, and they very well may mean that in the moment, but it doesn't mean that within 2 minutes that decision is not going to change because someone's going to hit their phone and say, "Hey, well, okay, we heard you like Auburn. Now, what's it going to take you to get you back in the good graces here of Georgia or whatever other program?" And that's certainly a reality of it as well. But I do think that part of the concern too comes with, last weekend was, really like that was the last, weekend for these official visits. And so now, if you're an Auburn fan, you feel like, man, maybe we're kind of behind the eight ball because we haven't been able to, um, we haven't been able to kind of, I guess get a read on some of these guys before their commitments come out because you are going to get, I mean, yesterday you had some come out. It was the busiest day, I think, recruiting wise so far in terms of announcements being made. But you've got in the next week and a half, 2 weeks or so, a lot of guys for both Auburn and Alabama that, in a lot of ways could make or break their 2026 classes. And so, like you said, Damian, it's only June. You have a long ways to go. And here's the other thing, right? Like we were saying, if you go out there and you win a lot of football games this year, it's going to take care of itself in a lot of ways, right? Because then you have people that, hey, maybe you can convince that 5-star guy to maybe sit a year or have to battle it out for playing time his freshman year, as opposed to just essentially being said, "Hey, come on in, buddy. We got a spot lined up for you." But you can see, hey, I'm going to build for something. I'm going to get a championship and get this Auburn team back to where they were. I saw this 2025 team. They were the first step, right? They're getting them back in that direction. Now I want to be a part of what the future of that can hold. And so that is certainly where I think your optimism can come. If you are excited about Auburn this year and you think they're going to be much better, like we do, then maybe you're not so worried about recruiting because it's all going to take care of itself. But certainly when you look up and you have 5 recruits at the end of June and you're in the 60s, the 70s, according to where you look in terms of the overall recruiting rankings, it's going to raise some red flags. That's just the way that it is, and I wouldn't expect it to be any different. But this is it. It's put up or shut up time for Hugh Freeze. The recruits are telling you, the Auburn fans are telling you, this is it. Go out there and win, or we're going to be talking about a different coach going to high schools and recruiting next year, I think.
And like you said, man, that's the difficult part. Man, there's so much pressure that's on them. But again, if you're Auburn, you almost have to just take it as it is because again, we had this conversation Friday of okay, realistically, if it does go south, where can you go and still feel confident that you're heading in the right direction?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to be rebuilding again, and I mean it's not like a long list of coaches are just jumping at that next opportunity for Auburn because they could see a trend. It's okay if I don't win immediately, then
yeah, they're
I'm
cutting
out
me
the door.
loose.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
out the door. And I mean, it gets to a point of how many more buyouts can you continue to go through? It's just going to affect everything as far as keeping a roster together. I don't know. It's the closer we need to get the kickoff. We need to get the kickoff so bad because, like you said, if your product on the field changes, if it actually equates to wins, everything else is going to take care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't won consistently, so it is concerning at this point of just like, oh my gosh, what else can go wrong before kickoff? Because we just need to see it. We have to see it.
I was about to say, just get to this season and handle your business, and we're going to look back and laugh at this conversation, and y'all can make fun and say, oh, the Alabama fan was talking about how bad Auburn recruiting was, and it's okay. You can pretend like it wasn't the Auburn fan base, and you can put all that blame on me, but hey, winning solves a lot of things, and that's what we're hoping that Hugh Freeze is going to be able to do down on the Plains this year. So to go along with this, I wanted to do kind of a fun exercise. So last night I went through the schedule for Auburn for the upcoming season, and I tried my best. I ranked, in my opinion, from 12 to 1, the from easiest to hardest opponent for Auburn this upcoming season. So I will give that to you 1 through 12. Who's the easiest opponent? Who's the sixth easiest opponent? Who's the hardest opponent? I ranked it all. You can tell me how dumb I am. You can tell me how much you agree with me, whatever. So we'll get Damien's reaction to that as well as yours, 205-834-9450, as it is a little bit of all barn radio today. Panic on the Plains, as we're calling it. Maybe I can trademark that, but that's all next here on Jox. Is it time to panic on the plains? Welcome back in. Morning Jocks here on your Tuesday morning. Conrad and Damian diving into some of this conversation surrounding the Auburn football program and their recent struggles on the recruiting trail, depending on where you look. Some people have them in the mid 60s, some in the mid 70s in terms of their overall recruiting ranking for the 2026 class. And simply put, it seems that a little bit of the benefit of the doubt has gone away from Hugh Freeze as this next wave of recruits maybe has a little uncertainty about if he's going to be around for the long haul if they commit to Auburn, as well as maybe some of those opportunities that we talked about the last couple of years for immediate playing time. Those are starting to go away. And you also financially have committed a lot of money to this year's football program. You have gone all in essentially on this season, and that's going to leave you a little shorthanded when it comes to what the future is going to hold. So we will continue to get your thoughts on the text line. We'll get to those here in just a little bit. But quickly, I wanted to do another little exercise for Auburn because we talked about how important winning is this year for Auburn, not only for Hugh Freeze to keep his job, but you would also imagine to keep a lot of these guys from potentially entering a transfer portal and now trying to put together a respectable recruiting class here in 2026. And so I went through their schedule yesterday. I went through the Auburn schedule, and from number 12 to number 1, I ranked the easiest to hardest, who I think, the easiest opponents will be all the way up to the hardest. And so we'll get into this real quick. And I just want to get your thoughts on this, Damian, and then we'll get to the text and the calls. So we'll go quickly here. I think it's pretty easy early on. Ball State's the worst. Ball State's really bad. I have them at number 12. They won 3 games last year.
Time out.
They're bad.
You got them ahead of Mercer?
Yeah. Mercer's Mercer's good. Like
They are.
They play a lower level, but they're good. Do you disagree with that?
No. I completely agree. I thought that was going to be the standard. I thought that was going to be the bottom.
No, Mercer's
I've
respectable.
seen it. Yeah, trust me. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're one of the ranked. They went to the playoffs. They were ranked. I mean, Sanford knocked them off last year. But yeah, like I trust.
Yeah,
me.
give me Mercer on a neutral side between them and Ball State. Give me Mercer.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, you think Mercer would beat?
I don't think they'd be favored, but I'll take them. So whatever. If you want to, if you don't agree with me and Damian, but yeah, I think Ball State's worse than Mercer. So I have Ball State as their easiest game. Then I have Mercer. Then I have South Alabama. So someone's gonna have those 3 in some order. That's gonna be your bottom 3. So now we get into actual SEC play and power conference play. At 9, I have Kentucky. I think they're easily the worst SEC team that Auburn will play this year. This next one is tough. I really splitting hairs between number 8 and number 7. At number 8, I went Vanderbilt, and then at 7, I went Arkansas. But you could flip those, and I'm not going to argue with you. Would you flip those, or would you have someone else up there?
Missouri.
You have Missouri behind Arkansas and Vanderbilt.
I would have Missouri below Vanderbilt. I mean, below Arkansas. Missouri and Vanderbilt.
So you would go Missouri, Arkansas, Vanderbilt?
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. I'm not going to.
And they got to go on the road to Nashville, too. So
that's fair.
But again, like they're all, they're in that same boat. I have a little bit more optimism about Arkansas because you hate Sam Pittman and all that.
I do not. I love Sam Pittman. I obviously love him more than Clark Lee and Diego Pavia. All right. So again, we're halfway through. Easiest team's going to be Ball State, then Mercer, then South Alabama, Kentucky. I have Vanderbilt, then Arkansas, then Missouri. Damian would mix it up a little bit. And then so the 5 toughest games now for Auburn the upcoming season. Number 5, I have Baylor. I don't think a lot of people realize that Baylor's actually pretty good. There's going to be a number of people, I think, that predict them to win the Big 12 this year. Like, Baylor's legitimately good. At number 4, I have Texas A&M. I think, again, you're kind of splitting hairs between Texas A&M and Oklahoma, but as we know, I'm pretty high on Oklahoma this upcoming season, so I put them ahead of Texas A&M. And then for the last 2, I actually put Alabama 2nd and Georgia 1, and Auburn straight up. I mean, they have had better success at Jordan-Hare recently against Alabama than they have Georgia. So I think Georgia will be the toughest game for them this year, and Alabama a close second behind that. So besides the, you would have Missouri a little bit lower down, and you would bump up Vanderbilt and Arkansas. Do you agree with everything at the top, or would you mix some of that up?
The only swap I had was Georgia, Alabama. Just
You would have
because,
Alabama number one.
yeah, like pound for pound. And a
Is
lot of
that
it's
because it's a bigger rivalry game, or because you think Alabama's better than Georgia?
because I think Alabama's better than Georgia,
Okay.
and the rivalry aspect too. But again, I have my reservations on Georgia. Not to say I don't think they're still one of the best teams. It's just I think they need a little bit more prove it to me than again just rolling the helmet out and saying, "Oh, you're Georgia, everybody else stinks." It's no, you've got some work to do. But I do think, I mean, either or, it's no big deal. I'm a bigger Arkansas guy. I'm a bigger Arkansas guy, and I think that game would be a little bit tougher. I mean, they lost to them last year, so. But 9 times out of 10, if Auburn and Arkansas play each other, Auburn beats them. But they only get 1 time this year.
I just feel like my thing for Arkansas, and I don't know, this might not make sense when I say it. I feel like with Vanderbilt, I expect them to still be competitive and good like they were last year. But I just wonder, how much different can it look than it did last year with Diego Pavia? Whereas with Arkansas, I'm banking more on Taylor Green being better. And that could be a whole different conversation if that kind of happens. But that's also me just kind of banking on those things actually coming to fruition. So that's how we would rank the Auburn schedule in terms of their easiest opponents all the way to the hardest opponents. Just kind of, going into, again, there's some tough games on that schedule. And this is a pivotal season for Hugh Freeze and for Auburn to try to pick up some wins and try to salvage this recruiting class. So quickly, let's go to the phone lines. I know Don, our resident Auburn fan, he wants to weigh in. I know you were having a rough time yesterday, Don. Do you feel any better about where Auburn's heading on the recruiting trail?
A little bit, Conrad, but thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, my goodness gracious, we're down to 5 commitments and remember, I don't know if you guys remember last summer when I was calling in July in July of last year. After Big Cat Weekend, we got all those guys decommitted. We got them for Big Cat Weekend last year, and at one time last year we had the number 1 class in the country. A lot of good that did me, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit different this year, but hey, it's all right. You just got to go win some football games this fall, and it'll all turn around, right? Right, Don.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, everything that you guys have said this morning, you are spot on. We just got to do it on the field this year. If we don't do it on the field this year, then we're going to have to start all over again anyway, because Freeze will be gone.
Yeah, well, you know what they're calling your recruiting class right now, right?
No, what's the nickname for that?
Well, it's just the Freeze 5 because there's only 5 of them. So.
Oh, Conrad, you got me on that one now, okay? But I know one thing. Hey, I can't wait to see FSU Dave today about everything that the quarterback said yesterday. He's going to get a tough time today, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's gonna have a big time with all that. So hopefully we'll see you a little bit later at Social Taco, Don. Appreciate you calling in. But yeah, Thomas Castellanos, some of those interesting comments. That I'll just say this: when you want to poke the bear, I'm all for it.
I'm with you.
I'm all for it. You're gonna pay the consequences a lot of times.
Absolutely.
But I think if you're a fan of the team on the other side, you're like, bring it on. Yeah, absolutely.
We welcome
Talk all the smack you want. We'll take care of business on the field. So, yeah, we'll see if we hear anything else from the Florida State quarterback between now and that opening week game against Alabama. Something tells me don't think we're going to really hear from him anymore. But your texts have been rolling in talking about this Auburn recruiting situation, 205-834-9450. Want to give you time to react, share some of your thoughts. What's your optimism for Auburn recruiting and just the season in general? We do also have some recruiting news for Alabama to talk to, some good news, maybe a little bit of bad news on that front as well. So we'll get to all of that next here on Morning Jox. Welcome back into Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you until 7 o'clock when we hand you off to McElroy and Kubelik in the morning. Spent a great deal of time this morning talking about Auburn football recruiting and the panic on the plains, as we're calling it, as a number of not only people that are, cover the program, but, a large number of people within the fan base seem to be having some concerns about what's going on with this 2026 recruiting class. It's not looking anything like the last 2 years where Hugh Freeze, I think, there are a lot of things that we've been critical of for Hugh Freeze in Auburn over the last couple of years that he's been there. But I think the one thing that we all agreed on was that recruiting-wise, he did a heck of a job. And especially when he came in there and being able to salvage a class his first year, and now what you've seen him do, with these top 10 recruiting classes, it's been impressive. There's no doubt about it. But now it's kind of grinded to a halt, and it appears that this is, the time where the players and the recruits need to see the product on the field. They need to see that that's better before they're going to commit, the next year to 4 years of their life to Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. And we have been getting some of your reaction. We had Don who called in and said, he's not super optimistic about things right now, but things can certainly get better. It is only June. There's a long ways to go before some of these guys sign on the dotted line. But how about the other team in the state? We have the Alabama Crimson Tide. Recruiting going a little bit better for them. Still waiting on some big commitments to potentially come through for them. Or we may be having not a conversation on the same scale as Auburn, but a little bit different as some of these 5-star guys that are projected to land to Alabama go elsewhere, which is always a possibility. But right now, things going fairly well in Tuscaloosa for the Tide. So yesterday, Alabama, they flipped 2 commitments from the Big Ten, actually. So you have 4-star running back Javari Barnett, who flipped from Illinois, and Alabama is hoping, because you're going to lose Jam Miller, and there's what's his name? He's down on the depth chart, but you're going to lose a couple of people from that running back room this year for Alabama. So they're bringing in Javari Barnett. They're also hoping to get Xavier Crowell, who's a 5-star running back that they've been in the mix for some time now, but they get 4-star guy to flip from Illinois, and then you have 3-star safety Rael Kelly, who has flipped from Rutgers to Alabama. So those are the 2 latest additions to the 2026 class for Alabama. However, on the other side of things, you do have, some guys that you had been in the mix for that you missed out on yesterday. So quick update on those guys. You had a 4-star tight end by the name Xavier Tiller. He picks FSU yesterday, and he actually committed to FSU over Alabama and Auburn. So that was his final 3, and he goes with Florida State. So maybe him and Devin Carter are good buddies, and they decided they wanted to go to Florida State together. You also had a 4-star defensive lineman, Titan Davis. He commits to Michigan yesterday. He was picking between the Wolverines and Alabama. He's a 6'5", 270-pound D lineman from St. Louis. So he goes to Michigan. You also had another tight end in Roman Voss. He's a 4-star kid out of Minnesota, the number 1 recruit from the state of Minnesota. He stays at home. He's going to be a Gopher now. So, hey, more power to him.
Yeah.
He's doing the Caden Proctor thing, or what Caden Proctor thought he was going to do.
Stay on home.
We'll see. We'll see. And then you also had 4-star edge rusher Kamari Brooks, who he chose Georgia yesterday. He was picked between Georgia and Alabama. So some targets for Alabama yesterday that didn't go their way. But just like Auburn, there's going to be in the next couple of weeks a lot of big names that are potentially going to pick them or potentially not. And we will see how that ultimately ends up. But that's your Alabama recruiting news. So now we'll go to the text line. Courtesy GMC, 205-834-9450, Damian, and we will have some reaction from some Auburn fans as they talk about some maybe recruiting concerns that they have.
Yeah. We're seeing a little, actually, on the opposite side of town, some people say, somebody texts in and says, the Auburn implosion is chicken soup for my soul.
Whatever gets you through the day, I guess, right?
Absolutely. Drake with a little optimism. He's a Florida fan. He says, guys, don't forget Billy Napier was the same way and finished with a top 10 class. He also went to a bowl game.
It's possible, yeah.
He also went to...
Well, yeah, and I'll be honest, hey, you want to go play with DJ Lagway for a couple years? Yeah, I'd probably do that.
Yeah.
Probably do that.
Buddy Love texted in and says, panic on the plains. I love it.
We're getting shirts made.
Joseph texted in and says, what do you think the win mark should be for Auburn this year to have a successful year? He says 8 or 9 wins.
I think 8 is good enough, but I think not. I feel like if you get to 8 wins, a lot of people will be happy with that. But I feel like you're also, when you're then looking into next season, if you only get 8 wins, it's okay. Are we I just kind of wonder where the expectation is there. Whereas opposed to if you get to 9 wins this year, I think that's when you really start to get excited of, oh, okay, well, we are 1 win away from the college football playoff. Or, hey, maybe we lose to, this ranked team instead of dropping stubbing our toe against Arkansas, and we're going to find ourselves in the playoff as a 3-loss team.
Right.
So I think 8 wins is good enough, but 9 wins to really, really get the excitement going.
Yeah, somebody else texted in and said, no Big Cat was in April. And that's even worse.
Well, and that's why I was saying I think part of the concern earlier was that you had last weekend was the final weekend for these official visits, and you saw, just again, using it as an example, but you saw a bunch of 5-star kids in Tuscaloosa hanging out with Nick Saban, and there really wasn't anything going on in Auburn. And I think that's where some people are a little upset of maybe we should have waited on some vacations for another weekend if you're member of that staff. Anyways.
Yeah, somebody else takes in and says, I don't know, Freeze's recruiting been saving him. If it falls off, I think he's done for. You know how those Barners are.
Well, and that's where these two things kind of go hand in hand, right? Because the last thing you want, is to have another disappointing season and have to potentially get rid of your head coach, but then also have to find some way to salvage a recruiting class of a program that's had 3 straight well, more than that going back to Harsin, but 3 straight under Hugh Freeze, and you're bringing in a new head coach, and yeah.
Yeah, now going back to your Bruins conversation, Cassie texted in. She's a fellow Birmingham Southern alum as well. She said her high school were the Bruins, the Bradshaw Bruins. They closed to combine and to create Florence City.
Oh, okay. Very cool there.
But it's a bear.
Okay. Well, that is good to know. Quickly, is this causing you some concern about maybe having to root for Auburn this year or in the future?
No.
No?
No.
So that you haven't eliminated them, they're still
in the top 10.
In the final 10?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we will keep an update on what's going on in the recruiting trail for Alabama, Auburn, and Damien. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., but right now, it's McElroy and Kublik in the morning.